And here's something else the Obama administration has decided to do. Grant more than 40,000 TSA screeners, you know, those folks who check you out at the airport. It's giving them limited union organizing rights. So does that enhance the security of the flying public, or is it a political hug for unions? Nicole DeBoard is a former prosecutor. Dwane Cates is a criminal defense attorney. Nicole, you like this idea. Why?
Well, I think if you have happy employees and they feel like they have a voice, a lot of times they're going to be able to do better work, and they're going to be able to feel like that if they have a problem, they can come to their union and have a collective voice to complain about it without repercussions. So I think it could very well have a positive impact on the working group of people who are employed checking our security.
Dwane, I've got to say I would not want to be one of those two TSA agents. I think it's kind of a miserable job and maybe a thankless one. But at the same time, I don't know why organizing in a union is going to make the job any better.
Well, it's probably not going to make the job any better, and it is a tough job, but in today's day and age, it is a job. These TSA workers right now have better health insurance than I've got being self-employed. They already get good benefits. They already have a job. You know, the FBI, the CIA, other law enforcement, quasi-law enforcement officers can't unionize. And they can't for a reason, because they may need to be called on to do extraordinary things to protect the public. And they need to be able to, the management needs to be free to deploy them at any time. And a union's just going to get in the way.
Well, they're not allowed to strike under these new union organizing rights. They can negotiate. Well, go ahead, Nicole.
Well, it's foot in the door.
Well, and what I was
they're getting their foot in the door.
Actually, law enforcement does unionize. Most police officers belong to a member of a union, and it doesn't affect their ability to provide security and to provide the services that law enforcement police officers provide. So if law enforcement can have a union and can be successful at it and still provide the public with the measure of protection that the public expects, I don't see why the TSA should be any different.
The head of the union that wants to represent these TSA screeners, and I guess they're going to vote on exactly who is going to represent them. But one union head said this. He said, "Today marks the recognition of a fundamental human right for 40,000 patriotic federal employees who have been disenfranchised since the inception of the agency." Disenfranchised how, John?
Well, they haven't been disenfranchised. They're being treated the same as FBI agents, CIA agents, DEA agents. That same official said that this is a foot in the door. You're saying they don't have the right to strike. Well, just because they don't have a right to strike doesn't mean that they're not going to strike. That doesn't mean, like in Canada, when their workers were disgruntled, they did a slowdown. They decided to search every bag individually, and they virtually stopped air travel in Canada in 2006. Just because this was a political promise, and it doesn't stop them from making a new political promise to give the unions more and more power as it goes along. The union boss himself said this is a foot in the door.
And Dwane is your name. The union boss is John, and that's why I got that confused. I apologize for that. Nicole, what about, I mean, is this really about the safety of the flying public? I mean, are all of a sudden airplanes going to be safer because of this, or is this more of a political payoff to the president's union supporters?
Well, it's hard to say whether or not the public will be safer, but certainly if you have a union and the union gets a lot of complaints from the employees about, well, you know, we're feeling like we have to work extensive hours or too many hours that makes it hard for us to pay attention or to focus on the things that we'd like to focus on, and they get a lot of complaints like that, they can go with their collective voice and say, we need to make amendments to the way the shifts are being handed out and to how long a person can work in a row without a break. And then what you have is a happier person standing there at the gate, which sounds trite, but it can matter when that person is actually supposed to be focused on checking the contents of these bags and to make sure that all the passengers are safe.
All right, Dwane, do you have a problem with that?
Well, you know, happy workers are right now are workers that have a job, and these people have jobs, and not only do they have a job, they have a government job with full government benefits. I mean, you know, these are not bad jobs. I mean, it's not great. I mean, being a TSA agent, you know, isn't going to be, you know, it probably isn't a real fun job. But you know what? They get full government benefits. Like I said, they get more benefits than I get being self-employed.
Nicole, what's to prevent them from saying, hey, there are only 40,000 of us and we're working way too hard. We need 80,000 and the taxpayers should pay for it. And that makes our union all that much bigger and gives us, you know, less to do.
Well, just because they ask doesn't mean they get. But at least if they have a collective voice, they can say, this is why we want what we want. And the person who's asking doesn't suffer the repercussions because there's a group asking. So you're not going to single out a particular person who's complaining because they feel like they're overworked, or perhaps they're reporting that the other employees aren't paying enough attention because they're overtired. They're not going to face repercussions. You're going to be able to hear from a union representative who can say, look, this is a problem. Oftentimes also, for example, in law enforcement, when police officers have things that they have to deal with through their unions, the union representative can help to make sure that the union members are all treated equally by administration, for example.
Dwane,
and so you have people who feel like they have a little power.
Here's the thing. This TSA was created under the Bush administration, but the Bush administration would not allow this union, this organization to unionize. Now under the Obama administration, it's going to be allowed to do that. It's not like a subsequent president is going to be able to dismantle the union, is it?
Well, probably not. And under Bush, it was a bipartisan vote when they created the TSA. It was bipartisan decision that they couldn't collectively bargain. And they tried to make them in the form of the CIA, the FBI. They tried to make it so that you know, this is a security agency. You know, historically, unions only benefit the union members. You know, it's not going to benefit the taxpayers. It's not going to benefit the flying public. The only thing that this is going to benefit are President Obama, because he's going to be getting more union votes, and the union workers themselves. That's the only people that are going to benefit from this.
We're going to have to leave it at that. Dwane Cates, Nicole DeBoard, good discussion. Thank you both.
Thanks, John.